Hi everybody, Courtney here to play catch up with you and to go over 10 mindsets of a person who has reached financial independence and how I reached that. And as I look back, I was thinking about the things that have helped me get there and the things that we still do. But for those of you who follow me regularly, quick catch up. My health is doing much better. I was suffering with autoimmune disease and the long version of the virus from the pandemic. I'm doing so much better. It's one of the reasons I wasn't on here for so long. Last year, many of you know, we got really busy with our roofing business. And as soon as that settled down, my elderly parents have needed a lot of help. And also my son that's autistic, I have been having to get some training done for some programming for him, which has required a lot of my time. He had knee surgery. My dad had back surgery. My mom is about to have hip surgery. So it's just been, and I've been trying to heal, but I am doing so much better. I just came from a funeral and that was a sad day. It was a beautiful funeral though. And I just wanted to come in and give you guys a quick update before I go any further into this. So let's talk about, so we have reached financial independence, which the definition of financial independence, my definition is when you have saved enough money to support your monthly expenses for the rest of your life without ever working again. That might be through real estate, that might be through investments, that could be through residual checks from some kind of, business or something like that. So ours is saved in what I say cash. It's in the bank, CDs and savings accounts, and in 401k and IRA. And then we have a little bit of rental income. Okay, and it's taken us about 13 years to get there. I would say we technically reached lean financial independence about 2 years ago, but we're about to the point now where we're ready to retire. And I'm working on whether we do that now at the end of the year or if we continue on into the next year working. So let's talk about those 10 things. The first one is luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So if you are prepared and you study and you learn about things, when an event happens to you, you will make a good decision. And a lot of people look at this a little differently. They're like, well, how can I budget or save when there's no money? Or why should I learn about financial independence when I don't have enough money just to pay my bills right now? Because inevitably you're going to get a tax return, you're going to sell something, you're going to get that job. You're going to come into some money. Statistically, most people do at some point, and what you do with that money will matter long term. 31 years ago, actually, I came into a little bit of inheritance from my grandparents. It was about $7,000 that I was able to, my mom had just built a house. It's a long story. My grandparents owned it. They had moved out there. There was still a mortgage on it. They were going to pay it off, but they did not. And the money that I inherited was about somewhere probably around $60,000 all said and done. And I got it over a 4-year period. I got a little bit of an initial sum. And with that, I paid my mom her portion of the house equity. And then I was able to stay there and take over the mortgage. So over time of living there 7 more years, the equity grew in the house and I was able to sell it and buy land to move into another house. Also, I had just had a baby. He was 5 weeks old, and I was able to use that money to quit my job and stay home and go back to school. Even though it wasn't a lot, it was like $12,000 a year after all was said and done. It was enough to help me not have to work full time. Now, I did go back to work eventually, and I did still clean houses and things like that. I cleaned houses. I had a pet sitting business. But because I had read about simple living and financial independence and I was frugal, I was able to stretch those dollars over that 4 years to get us ahead and get us out of poverty. The next one is to be frugal, live a simple life, and be a value-based spender. So we will spend money on things that we value, like plane tickets for our kids to come home, but I will save money in other areas. Like for instance, today I had to go to this funeral. I've had this dress for years. I've worn it to many events. I do not go out and buy new clothes for everything. I shop thrift stores, boutiques. We drive old cars. We live below our means. But I did spend $1,800 on plane tickets to get my kids home for Christmas. So we often will go out, if we go out to eat, we're going to go to moderately priced places. Today we had lunch. It was $29 with tip. We don't often go out to expensive restaurants. Most of the time when we go to a movie, we go to a matinee, not always, but we don't spend a lot of money on entertainment. We don't drink alcohol. We don't smoke. We don't party a lot or go out a lot. So that really helps us to save in areas where it's big. Our house is paid for. We prioritized paying that off. So all of those things really help on a day-to-day basis. Save, number 3 is save for your future self. You must think of who you're going to be. You must see yourself as little old Courtney or little old so-and-so, and what that's going to look like, and reverse engineer backwards. You have to think about the consequences. I don't remember who said this: easy choice, hard life, hard choice, easy life. So sometimes it's hard to be like, I'm going to save 20% of my paycheck, or even 10%, whatever your match is, start there and go up with each pay increase. But I'm going to save this now for myself 30 years down the road. That can be really hard to do, but you must do that, because that 30 years, 10 years, 25 years, whatever it is going to come. Statistically, it's going to come. There's very little chance you're not going to make it there. So being prepared for that is your future self will thank you. Number 4 is choose free or cheap hobbies. Whew, this is a source of contention in my household. We don't really fight about it, but my husband's hobbies are hunting, fishing, camping, and horses. They're all pretty expensive. But my husband does buy, all of his hunting stuff has come from yard sales. He hardly spends any money on hunting anymore. His camping stuff we have purchased over the years, and he reuses it. He doesn't really upgrade it that often. We've made it cheap, but it can be expensive. Same thing with fishing. He has everything he needs by now, and he just uses it, takes care of it. But horses can be very expensive. Me, when I was younger, my hobbies were yoga, working out, reading, walking. I like to go out with my friends, not too expensive places, but for tea or coffee. And so choosing cheap and frugal hobbies and having a life that is cheap and frugal will really help you as you get older to save a ton of money. Picking expensive hobbies can be really hard when your money is going to those expensive hobbies and you're not saving it for your future self. There's always balance to be had in what you value, but just make sure you're saving in other areas and not letting your future self suffer the consequence of your current decisions. Number 5 is get to comfortable middle class and get off the hedonic treadmill. It's harder to adapt and go backwards than it is to go forwards. So about 2 years ago, we really started having our business really took off. And we had been very comfortable living on about $53,000 a year. And we decided to increase that a little bit after reading the book Die with Zero. I don't agree with everything in that book, but the concept of I'm young now, let's make some younger. My husband he was 65 at the time. He was almost 67 and I was 51, I think. And we decided to take some of the vacations, nothing crazy. We didn't go to Europe or anything. Spend some money on some vacations, spend some money on experiences. And I'm glad that we did when we had the money, but also it is harder to go back than it is to creep up. So you want to be mindful. I decided that while I valued some of that, the value wasn't as big as I thought. So what I did find value in was renting a minivan when I go see my grandchildren. I have found that staying in expensive Airbnbs really wasn't all that great, that I could find a great deal in a Airbnb and be just as happy with a smaller, less fancy one. Sometimes the bigger ones were just physically bigger. They didn't really have that much more value. The next one is number 6, be brave. You have to invest in the market. The market is generally a guaranteed return if you look at it over history. But a lot of people see it as gambling. It goes up and up and up and up. And I'm not talking about day trading or stock picking. I'm talking about index fund or ETF investing, which is what we used to call mutual funds, When you buy an index fund, you're buying about 500 different stocks, usually the most popular like Apple, Nvidia, Walmart, things like that. So you're buying those stocks, and as the market goes up, they go up, and as the market goes down, they go down. But over time, they generally go up. They're pretty inflated right now, but you're in it for the long haul. You're not pulling your money out, because they do like this. They go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, but they trend up over time. I've been in the market since I was 29. I was in it earlier, didn't know what I was doing, pulled it out like a dummy. Got back in at 29. I'm now almost 54, and I have never pulled a dime out of it. I've just kept putting money in, and I do not try to time the market, but you have to be brave. It's scary. It was scary to pay the house off. It was scary to give all the extra money we had on the house, because of what if we needed it, right? It was scary to put the money in the market, but I'm so glad we did. Being brave has paid off in huge dividends. Number 7 is be grateful for what you have and thankful. I believe in that energy of saying thank you. Thank you. Last night, I have been so crazy busy that I have not gone to the grocery store in weeks. We've been living, like Jim would stop and get milk or whatever, plant milk for me. But other than that, I haven't done a big grocery shop. I've just been cleaning out the pantry, getting ready for Thanksgiving. We've been basically eating crumbs. And I needed to go to the grocery store. It was the biggest grocery and what I would call consumable bills. I needed dog food, cat food. I needed the dog's tick and flea medicine. You know, that stuff's expensive. I needed toiletries. My Walmart bill last night was $565 for food and consumables. And that was a lot. But instead of being like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much, I was like, thank you so much for letting me be able to afford to do this. There was a time in my life where I could not do that. I could barely go get what I wanted. I had to just figure out each week, okay, we have beans, so I can make refried beans. You know, like it was so tough for so many years. I try to always remember my privilege and to stay in a place where I'm grateful for that privilege, and remember that there are so many people doing without, not to ever take that for granted. I do not believe we grow in wealth if we are in a place of poor me, poor me, poor me. Like, don't get me wrong, there are times I feel, you know, have moments where I play the victim a little bit, but I try not to camp out there. I try to move into a place of gratitude as often as possible. We've been going through some tough stuff lately, taking care of elderly parents and a child with a disability, and working hard and being sick. There's some tough stuff that actually goes on, and that is relative, but I also need to understand and accept the things in my life that are good. Hard and good coexist in the same space often. Number 8 is be silently wealthy. Discipline equals freedom. So being disciplined and not worrying about what other people think about you, like not feeling like I needed to go buy a new dress to wear to a funeral, not worrying about what people think about me, not feeling like I drive a 2018 Honda CRV. My husband has a 2009 CRV and a 2007 Chevy work truck for our business. And we don't care about what other people perceive our cars to be, our jewelry to be, our clothing. We have a very modest 1,800 square foot house. It's not quite 1,800 square feet. We do own a ranch with 40 acres, but it's nothing flashy. We didn't build a big mansion on it. We were more concerned about being disciplined with our money, living below our means in order to build wealth so that we would have time freedom. Number 9 is value your time. So because I often don't look like I have much, you know, drive an older car, I often just wear Walmart clothes. I'm from Walmart country. I'm from Arkansas. So Walmart doesn't have the stigma here that it has in other parts of the country. And a lot of my family members have worked for Walmart, and it's been a good experience. I know, please don't give me negative stuff in the comments. I've read it all, but my personal experience is not negative. I usually wear thrift store clothes and Walmart clothes in Old Navy. I live in a small town in Arkansas. There's not a lot of places to shop. But I was going to my son's, the school where I had to get trained to be his Medicaid waiver worker. And they allowed family to start doing it during COVID. And the reason I'm doing it is because he won't let anybody help him. And I don't, and you, if you, it's use it or lose it. So they were offering me a job. They were like, well, if you want a job working 30 hours a week, we can give that to you. And I was like, well, what does it pay? And mind you, it doesn't matter. I have a college education. I have 2 associate degrees and I have a certificate in administration. Like I did 1 year of early childhood education administration. I have a degree in early childhood education, liberal studies degree. So 120 hours of college and experience out the wazoo, $12 an hour. I was like, oh, thank you. But here was my thought. I can save that much. I figured out my check would be like $250 a week or less for that amount of time. And I was like, I'm so good at saving money. Like I can save that much and invest that much and make that much in the market or make that much in CDs just by the money that I've invested. There is no way I wouldn't gain $250 a week. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't work if we need the money. I've worked for little to nothing if I needed the money. But in my case, we have to value our time. So I could spend that time doing projects around the house that I might pay somebody to do. I can spend that time figuring out where to put my money to make interest. So where I am now, that doesn't make sense. But when you have no money and you don't have a job, you do what you can to make money right then. So I'm not saying don't work. I'm saying value your time. If you need money, make it. But if you can save money or find ways to make more money by investing or learning something new, do that. I hope that made sense. Number 10 is lift others up. When other people are struggling, try not to judge because we don't know what they're going through. No 2 people have the same lifestyle. My parents they did not raise me. They had me a little bit here and there, but my grandparents raised me. I did not come from a family where I got a lot of help financially. I have not taken a penny from my parents. The only thing I will say is my mom paid for my kids to go to a church preschool when they were little because she really wanted them to go there. It was a status thing for her, and that's fine. I appreciated it. They would buy my kids clothes and some gifts sometimes, things like that. And they would buy me gifts sometimes, small things, Christmas, birthday presents. And my mom and dad both paid a little bit on my college education. I think my dad paid $500 and my mom paid $2,000 in my student loans when we got that inheritance. But that is it. I never went to my parents for help. I didn't have a lot of help. Thank God my grandparents left me a little bit of money, but I was going through a really hard time. And when I got pregnant, I didn't really understand how insurance worked and all of that. And I have had to file bankruptcy when I was 20 because I had a stillborn baby without insurance. And it was very expensive. And then I had a car accident that same year and I got divorced. And things were just really hard. I had a great job working for Redken and my bosses got divorced. So I was out of work. I got divorced. I came home, moved home. I got hurt really bad in the wreck. I couldn't work for a year. Met my second husband. I was married briefly right out of high school. Met my second husband, got pregnant, had a stillborn, and I had all these bills and I wasn't able to work because my back. I was working part-time under the table because that's the only thing I could do. I sat at a desk at a window company and I did what I had to do, but I had to be on Medicaid for a while. I had to go through bankruptcy. I had to get WIC for my children when they were little for a while just to be able to survive because even that little bit of an inheritance wasn't enough. My ex-husband and I were both in college. I was going to school, taking care of the kids during the day, going to school at night, and cleaning houses on the weekend. I did what I could to get out of poverty, but we don't ever know what someone's resources have or haven't been. So lift others up and be generous where you can and never make assumptions because that person that's struggling right now, it doesn't mean they're stupid. It doesn't mean they're non-educated, but they may not have had the same resources as you. And I don't just mean financial resources, people they can fall back on, a home to go to, someone who will let them borrow a car or give them gas money like I do with my kids a lot. even though my kids are grown adults, they know that they can fall back on me. That can be a whole nother episode. That can be a good and bad problem. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much. This is a long one. I appreciate you being here. Take care and have a wonderful day. And please like and subscribe if you stayed this long.